Beata Maria, you know I am a righteous man. Of my virtue I am justly proud. You know I'm so much purer than the common, vulgar, weak, licentious crowd. Then tell me, Maria, why I see her dancing there, why her smoldering eyes still scorch my soul.
Hi everyone, Jester Bell is back, and we are back to talking about that game I really have been enjoying, Marvel Rivals. And everybody else, it seems, has been really enjoying Marvel Rivals. And I mean, let's just talk about how successful this game is. Marvel Rivals is kind of eclipsing the other areas of Marvel right now, and they wish that they had the success of Marvel Rivals. Rivals is being enjoyed by pretty much everyone, and it's growing in how many people are playing it. And so we're seeing how that is affecting things like the MCU, constantly trying to advertise new skins, tying into their films, which they did with Brave New World, and they now recently did with Thunderbolts, quite enthusiastically.
Hey chat, Sebastian Stan here. I'm so excited for you to watch today's stream and check out some special clips from Marvel Studios' Thunderbolt. Also make sure to check out the custom Bucky skin, which also drops on May 2nd. It's so awesome. The streamers today got an early access. I hope you all love it. Armed and Dangerous, again.
Rivals is so successful, once again, it's also affecting Marvel Comics, with new comic books dedicated to tying into Marvel Rivals, a new Jeff the Shark comic. That said, it doesn't seem like the comic book company is truly understanding why Rivals is successful, as Marvel editor Tom Brevoort recently said that he thinks that all of the success has nothing to do with characters and everything to do with gameplay. Not noting at all the people who are brought over to comics literally because of the game. Is it any small wonder why Marvel Rivals is doing better than these other outlets of Marvel? So once again, I've still really been enjoying the game, and I can say that now because I did have a frustrating bout with it where I am playing solo queue on competitive mode, and it is so hard, and lately I feel like the game is just bashing me hard on it, and I notice if I play a quick match, it's super easy. If I play competitive mode, they just hit me where they live over and over again. But I have had some successes now, and I'm getting better at learning healers like Jeff the Shark. So hopefully that bodes well for me going forward with the game. For those who don't know, my main is actually Scarlet Witch. I have yet to get a Lord icon. That means that you've mastered the game, for those who don't know. I'm sorry, I just haven't gotten it. So Marvel Rivals, again, what I'm saying is it could not be more successful, even beating out its competitors in the certain mediums of comics and movies. Everyone seems to be all on board with Marvel Rivals, except for one thing. This one controversy that is attached to the game and that comes up again and again, usually when they have a new character come up and some new skins come out. The controversy that they sexualize some of their female characters, supposedly.
Emma Frost from Marvel Rivals also gets a lot of hate for her over-sexualization, especially in her X-Revolution outfit.
Because I'm not going to hold you. How are y'all going to be complaining that these skins are too revealing when we legit got Jeff out here wearing nothing but a collar?
Now, initially, this wasn't a controversy at all because there wasn't really much of note, I guess, other than the characters looked like characters. They had appealing designs. The women looked like women. They weren't afraid to show the actual curves that women just naturally have. And so that was of note to some people, but I think overall for the mainstream, it wasn't very notable other than to just say they had really great character designs. But then came the Fantastic Four reveal, and this blew up probably specifically for the designs of Reed and Sue Storm. Reed was very buff, but Sue Storm in particular was very curvaceous. Know what I'm saying? She looked like a woman. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, this inspired a ton of fan art for Susan Storm and people really thirsting after Susan Storm. And it would only get worse when they showed the Malice skin, which was this, which is funnily enough a toned down version of the one in the comics, but it was enough. She is wearing a sort of almost a not leotard, and the outfit's really cheeky, know what I'm saying? So, this was a big controversy, even though it got a ton of fan art, and I would argue a ton of downloads, because the Malice skin was something that you had to buy in the game. Gee, I wonder why it was behind a paywall. And people started accusing Marvel Rivals of just being out there to appeal to the Gooners. So there was some discourse about Marvel Rivals over that, but it would only get worse, because then they went into the next season of the game, and wouldn't you know it, their next character that they revealed was Emma Frost, and I think they knew exactly what they were doing with this character. Emma Frost is known to be a very sensual character, a very provocatively dressed character from the comics. It is an important point of her character. She says it herself in the game, where she has all this dialogue sashaying about her looks, her nails, what she's wearing. Like, that is very specifically the character. And so Emma Frost comes out, and she's got this big hip design, and she's stomping around, and it was also another big controversy, because they definitely tried to make this a very enticing, provocative design, following the Susan Storm marketing strategy. And I want to say, I do have problems with Emma Frost's design. In that, I don't think that this design fits Emma Frost because it's too bulky. Emma Frost should be a slender character, but they have her as a vanguard in the game, and so I guess that's what they were going for, but I wish that that wouldn't mean that a character has to become more bulky. I think that they could still be strong without that, but that was my real problem. I didn't care for the giant X's on her costume, but otherwise, the design just looked like Emma Frost to me. But once again, there was much of a discourse around this thing, because she had another suit that was behind a paywall again, and it's based on an outfit that she would wear during, I believe it was the all-new X-Men era. I would have to look it up, but it's got the full slit down the torso thing going on here, and once again, it's the same sort of strategy that they did with Sue Storm and Malice. They've got the sexier design behind a paywall when they know exactly what they're doing with that. But it also got a ton of controversy from people online saying that Marvel Rivals is just appealing to the Gooners. Now, the interesting thing about it is that they advertised this new skin for Emma Frost, but when they were advertising it on Reddit, apparently they actually censored the design for the character because they were afraid that the Redditors couldn't handle it. And I just think that that is absolutely hilarious that they would do that. That's just so embarrassing for the Redditors. Were so insensitive about, or so sensitive about this sort of thing, that they just couldn't handle it. Now, at this point, you might be guessing that my stance on this is that I am all for these provocatively dressed female characters, and I'm all for what they're doing with this game, and I'm all for the Gooners. No, I am not. And I'm not against these character designs either. Guys, people have accused me on this platform of being a prude, and they would be 100% right. I am a 100% a prude. I think we need prudes in the world to balance out the perverts. Just me. I'm a proud prude. But that gives me, I think, some jurisdiction to perhaps be the best person to talk about this continued controversy, which I bet is still going to go on, because I am at the same time, as you can tell, just kind of laughing at these people getting upset about that. And why is that? I'm not for the Gooners or anything. Why am I laughing at the people getting so upset at this game? And trust me, it's gotten worse. It's only gotten worse for them, because a couple things happened. First of all, the response from the Marvel Rivals team to the controversy over that they sexualized some of their female character designs, and truly, it is only some of the designs. Most of the character designs are just very, very appealing, not really sexualized. It is only some of the characters. And I would say it's with the characters where that fits with them, who they are in their background, like Emma Frost or the Malice skin of Susan Storm. That's pretty much it. Others are just, they're very appealing, like Luna Snow or Magic. I really like their designs. And they don't have any problem being attractive, but they're not really sexualized. But the funny thing is that, so this has been the only point of contention anywhere about Marvel Rivals. So the Marvel Rivals team, their response in terms of some people getting upset about some of these sexy character designs for female characters, is actually in the update that they gave with the game for Season 2, they actually actually amped up and made some of the rear ends of the male characters bigger, which I just found absolutely hilarious. That Marvel Rivals, their team's response to this controversy was to just, okay, equal opportunity, we'll do it to the men. Now, I wish I had had the presence of mind to save some of the tweets about this, but it was very notable that when I watched when this happened, the conversation changed from a lot of these people pointing out and saying that Marvel Rivals is just appealing to the Gooners. They now were laughing and loving the fact that they did this to the male characters somehow. Some people were doing that, and I thought that was interesting because I'm like, is any sort of sexualization of characters wrong, or isn't it? Because you would say that that is wrong for these female characters, but I noticed that when we do it to male characters, it's seen as just something fun and silly. Like, this would continue because more on the fact that Marvel Rivals is leaning into just having, these really attractive character designs and sexy character designs. They brought back Marvel Swimsuit Edition. What is Marvel Swimsuit Edition? Well, in the 90s, it is exactly what it sounds. It is a literal pinup book of superheroes, mainly superwomen in the original comics, wearing skimpy bikinis. That is literally what Marvel Swimsuit Edition was. But they would throw in some male characters as well, despite most of their audience being male, and it went over about the same way. Marvel Swimsuit Editions were very provocative and did bring out certain kinds of people who would definitely enjoy that sort of thing. And like I said, it was not just the men buying comic books at the time, it was women as well. As this infamous letter to Marvel Comics says, "Dear Marvel, I just saw your issue of Marvel Swimsuit Special 1994. It was very cool because it was 50-50 male-female. For once someone was fair. It's usually 98% female. I'm a black female, late 20s. I want to see Thor." I'm just gonna let you finish that for yourself. But this was a letter from Letra Bledsoe, address withheld by request. I can see why. So Letra was definitely helpful with it, but seeing this letter in an old Marvel Swimsuit Special made me think, it's kind of the same thing. This letter has been pushed around online a lot because they see it's silly when it's a male character being sexualized, but we don't really see that from the other side. So anyway, Marvel Rivals was bringing back Marvel Swimsuit Edition because that is a part of the game now. They don't have a problem with putting these kinds of designs out there, and apparently the reason why Marvel Swimsuit Special is being resurrected is because they're going to have an entire line of skins that you can get from characters that's going to be just them in swimsuits. So Marvel Rivals has really gotten a monopoly on all of this stuff, and their full approach to this swimsuit special was, once again, it's equal opportunity. Both genders will appear in these skimpy swimsuits. I honestly think they went further with the men in these outfits than not. But once again, I am a person where I am not for sexualizing characters or objectifying characters or anything. So why do I find this entire situation really funny? Well, just to explain it a little bit more, I am all for attractive characters, and I am all for the characters being who they're supposed to be. I do have a belief, obviously, that watching corn is wrong. I have to say corn on here because I don't know if YouTube will let me say the actual word. But then the question becomes, okay, why is it wrong? Why is it wrong to like any of these things? Well, that is a question that I think is good to ask, and I wonder if any of the people online just screaming about this kinds of stuff has asked about it themselves, because when I see them, like, one second they're getting really mad about the female characters being sexualized, the next minute it's to the men, and that's fine. I have to question, then what do you think is wrong about sexualization and objectification? And also, do you know the difference? Because I want to tell you guys, just because a character is sexualized or appears more that way, then that does not mean that they're being objectified. There's two different things. Objectification means that you have nothing else than just your body. That is all you've become. That is when somebody objectifies you. But even though these female character designs in Marvel Rivals are appealing and some of them sexualized, like, none of them are objectified, because each of the female characters in Marvel Rivals has a full character, like a distinct character that you know when you're going to play that. And that's what I find as one of the main appeals of the game. Everybody has their distinct character. So you can't say that any of these characters are being just objects and that no effort is being put into their personality or who they are. And please don't let it take away from a character just because they might be a bit sexualized and that means that there's nothing else to them. That's what bothers me about some of the conversation I was seeing, is like, I saw a lot of people talking after Thunderbolt saying that Natasha Romanoff was never a good character, saying that she was nothing more than the sexy assassin. And I think that that is a terrible look of the character, and that they were like really disparaging her for being sexualized. First of all, she was barely sexualized. The most was Iron Man 2. Maybe a little bit of a cleavage-bearing dress in the Avengers. But Natasha, in the better films, which were The Avengers and Winter Soldier, had a fully fledged character that was specific and she was nuanced, and there was even reasons for why she was seductive. She was trained to be that way, trained to be into something that she never wanted to be, and that's what her country made her, and this institution made her, and she wants to get out of that even though she thinks that she never will. Like, it's a very specific character, and I'm like, if you're gonna dismiss her just because they're trying to make her appealing or attractive in any way, well, or even if you want to say that she's sexualized, like, so does that mean that Thor or Captain America weren't characters because they were sexualized? And they were wearing skin-tight outfits as well. There was a scene in every Marvel movie of a male character with their shirt off. They even spend an entire portion of Avengers Endgame ogling Captain America from the behind. Like, it happened to the male characters too. But I noticed that, though. Like, if a female character is sexualized or just made appealing in any way, then people believe that that's all the character is. But if it's a male character, then it's just seen as this cute, silly thing. I just wanted to note that for a second there. And I don't think it's very fair. Just because a character is sexualized on some level does not mean that they're not an actual character. And if you are the person who is just devolving them into nothing more than who they are physically, then you are the one objectifying them. But back to what I was talking about, like, do these people even, like, I always wonder when I see these people in the hypocrisy is, have you ever asked yourself the question, why is sexualization or objectification wrong? And I would just say, for me, for my beliefs, it is scientifically proven. Like, this game is not corn in any way, shape, or form, but I'm just saying it is scientifically proven. People who get addicted to corn, people who watch corn, it is psychologically damaging. It can damage you from enjoying the real thing. It creates all this unrealistic expectation in your head, puts you on a dopamine cycle, and it just gets worse and worse, like an addiction. Like, that is just a very quick overview. That is why it is dangerous to go too far with this sort of thing and get into unrealistic expectations and fantasies over the wrong thing, and also what actual corn does, and that's not what this game does, but the actual corn out there, it devolves you into seeing human beings as objects. If you listen to people who have produced corn and have gotten out of that life and talking about what happened to them, talking about how they start to just not see human beings as anything more than objects, like, that is the extreme danger that we're talking about. That is where going too far with it, that's where it can become. Is that what Marvel Rivals is doing? No, there are just some character designs that err more on the provocative side than others. But like, that's where I would come from if I was to talk to somebody, like, what my beliefs are. What is the actual danger of going too far with it? You can actually objectify people, turn them into nothing else other than that. But the problem is these people making these criticisms, I don't know if they've ever asked themselves the question, what are they fighting for, or what is the actual end goal for it? For example, something similar to this happened in comics. Now, comics is an area that I will say did have a problem with over-sexualizing characters and how it negatively affected the story. Like, in the 90s, you can think of a lot of bad character designs, and the specific one is the Jim Lee Susan Storm design, and this is just a bad design in general, and it is really unbecoming of the character that would not wear this at all. It does not speak to the character that Susan Storm is. It is an awful design. It is distracting, and it's really very trashy. And that's what I want to talk about, where it's like I've read enough comics where I have seen a lot of things in bad taste. Like, people think that the 90s was the worst era for this sort of stuff. It was actually in the 2000s. In the 2000s, it's like, pick up a comic and I'm distracted because I can't read a page because they've decided the composition is going to be on someone's butt cheek. Or, it's kind of distracting when I'm trying to enjoy the Civil War comic and for some reason they want to show a character's reaction to somebody else dying, and it's Tandy Bowen, who is typically supposed to be a teenage character, and we get a shot of her ripped outfit that is conveniently ripped just on her behind, and I guess they want to believe that superheroes don't even wear underwear underneath anything. Like, there is definitely distasteful stuff out there, and I'm glad that comics have moved beyond that era. But what happened to comic books next in the 2010s is you had people overcorrecting. It no longer became about just not overly objectifying characters. It became about now being afraid of even just drawing women like women. If you look at a lot of character designs and approved character designs in the 2010s, women were drawn as boxes. A lot of them were just ugly designs because all of a sudden the pushback all the way to the other side was to be afraid of even just drawing human beings as human beings. And what we saw is the pushback against that is these days, for a long time now, it hasn't been controversial at all to just portray female characters as female characters. They have their curves. Like, that's just the way the female body is. And so lately, comic books have kind of come back around. They're not doing things like they were in the 90s and early 2000s, where it was really overdone. It was distracting, but they don't have a problem with portraying characters, male or female, attractively anymore. And yes, they have gone back to doing pinup comics, even though they're not overboard. But I want to say once again about that, they did this book called Rogue the Savage Land, and I was against it because I didn't want Magneto and Rogue to have anything, but luckily they didn't do them in the comic. But definitely this comic just existed to sell Rogue bikini variants, and even though they're not exaggerated or anything, that's what it existed as. And then that becomes another question, because this is definitely many sexualized covers, but inside the book, it actually gives Rogue an actual character and a story. So the story itself did not objectify this character. It was merely the covers that were very sexualized. But that's the interesting thing about comics, is I think that they're in an overall good place right now where they're not going too far either direction now, and they kind of have found more of a balance. And once again, I'm not going to be buying like pinup books or anything like that. I don't need any of that. But like, the reason why I look at Marvel Rivals and these various controversies and just don't care about it is it's like, you guys are just noisy, and it's like, you're not creating many actual good arguments for why this is wrong or anything. It's like you're not noting who these female characters actually are in the game. We're getting some great spotlight to female characters like Emma Frost and Susan Storm and Scarlet Witch, and it isn't all about like how they're dressed or anything. These characters are well drawn in the game, and their personalities are well drawn, and I feel like you need to talk about that in the conversation as well. This is more than just turning female characters into objects. They're actually treated like actual characters. And if you want to make an argument for why it's wrong to go down this route, then actually make that argument. But instead, you're clutching your pearls when it happens to female characters and then making out, enjoying it when it happens to male characters. So it makes me think that you don't actually have standards behind this stuff. But the reason why I just laugh at it is that it's just an element of the game, and I actually just enjoy having attractive female characters again, where it doesn't seem like the developers are afraid of the female body or trying to make them look like men or trying to make them intentionally uglier. And it's just enjoyable to me. It feels free. And the reason why I laugh is when Marvel Rivals essentially just doubles down over and over again, is there's just been so many things I've enjoyed that have been destroyed by listening to these loud voices online who don't even seem to know why they're advocating for something, but just the fact that they're advocating for it. And so for me, I don't think that it is overboard for the game. I don't think it is a distraction to what is the game or what I enjoy about the game, which is having these great characters and gameplay. And so that is why when I see Marvel Rivals just understanding who their audience is and that their audience is overall loving the game, then for the haters, they essentially just double down or try to be equal opportunity, I just have to laugh because I am glad that a game company knows its audience and is not going to pivot so hard on just these small voices trying to tear them down. And I think that that is the overall reason why Marvel Rivals is such a success. Like, when people complain about an aspect of the gameplay that isn't working, they recognize who the actual players are and to fix it to make it a better experience. They understand who their audience is and how to please that audience. And that's just so rare to see, and it's also what just makes me love being a part of this game. Is I feel like if I do have a problem with it, then my concerns are valid, but they also understand who the smaller voices are out there that are just, saying things to say something, saying things because they want to scream about something, and that these are not the actual audiences behind these characters. So that's why I enjoy that, and I wish that Marvel, for the movies and the comics, would understand that more, because there are a lot of other areas beyond just character designs that I think that those places could improve upon by actually listening to all of their audience, not just the people who are going to get angry about the most minute things, not the people who are going to shill for everything, but the actual audience. And so that is why Marvel Rivals is like, I really enjoy seeing what they're doing, and I really enjoy seeing them hold their ground to what their game is and who their actual audience is. And so I think that more people should learn from that and see that we just should not listen to these voices who maybe haven't even considered why they believe what they believe, if they believe in anything. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Would you like to see more Marvel Rivals videos? Because I certainly would like to make more of them. I would like to do a video talking about the characters I would like to see in the game the most and that gameplay. Let me know if you would like that in the comments below. If you want to support my work here, you can check out my Patreon or my memberships, and I will see you guys next time.